Like it's almost like you're trying to like you're stopping the breath flow, but his just keeps going. Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever applies to you. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Julia. I'm a contemporary singing specialist based in Australia, and today we are returning to the marvelous voice of David Draimen. I am really excited to have a listen to this one because my first time hearing David's voice was the Sound of Silence reaction that I did, and so I cannot wait to hear how he normally utilizes his incredible instrument within his band Disturbed. Or within the band Disturbed. Not sure if he started it. Might need to look into that. But nevertheless, we are going to check it out right now. This is Disturbed, Down with the Sickness. This is a completely different approach to what he used in The Sound of Silence. I would almost say that if I'd listened to this first, Sound of Silence would have even blown my mind further because I guess the biggest thing for me is the vowel work. Creatively, you can do a few things with vowels. Sound of Silence, we had a lot of sustains. Meant we got a lot of expression color-wise. We got to see incredible duration of phrase. Here we're seeing expression through things that are much more tight, shorter phrasing. It sounds very deliberate because it's repetitive. So it's almost like there's this intention for the vocal line to have like a percussive element to it as well, with how he's squeezing some of these sounds. Like he's not vowel dominant at all in a lot of these moments. In the verse, we got to hear some of the beautiful vibrato and some of the color that we did hear in Sound of Silence. But as we hit this chorus, oh my goodness, it's all like, oh, also, something sounded like a dog bark. And I believe that this is what people were referring to when I listened to, I think it was Zombified. It was a Falling in Reverse song. And there was this moment where the lead singer of that did these like, it almost sounds like a dog barking type of sound. And people in the comment section said, that sounds like Disturbed. It sounds like something that David does. And I hear you. Yeah, it really does. It sounds like that, like almost like a dog bark.
Looking at my own reflection, when suddenly it changes, violently it changes. Oh no, there is no turning back now. You've woken up the demon. Yeah, man. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Open up your hate and the devil wanna make you. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You must not get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You
Yeah, sorry, I missed it. Sorry. And then I got lost in it again. Oh God, sorry guys. There's a really cool, like rhythmic feeling to his vocals through that chorus. Like you want to move with it. That's cool. I like that. It's like multi-purpose vocals. We're not just here for the pretty noises. We're here for the impact of a beat through our vocal delivery too. I want to... His distortion is really cool through there. Like it's almost like you're trying to... Like you're stopping the breath flow, but his just keeps going. This is really cool. What an interesting sound. Where's his dog bark? There, that. I have this really bad habit of using unorthodox means of describing sounds because I'm not a harsh vocalist. I don't teach harsh vocals. My expertise is clean singing, clean vocals, and usually of the more contemporary pop, R&B, musical theatre, jazz side of contemporary. Less so, but getting more into it, the metal and heavier side of things. It's being able to hear something and then not knowing what the technical term for it. And from that becomes my unorthodox means of describing things. But it almost sounds like a dog bark and someone vomiting at the same time. Take it for the compliment that it is. It sounds really cool. It almost, to my untrained ears, sounds like really short, sharp barks in almost like a fry scream setup because it doesn't sound like there's a lot of air coming through there. And that's why I'm leaning more towards fry scream because fry scream, the vocal folds are closed. They're just vibrating together and the air pushes through them. Not the same way that you would phonate for clean singing, but it means that there's not as much air involved in the sound. And to me, when I hear that sound, I don't hear much breath coming through. I don't hear the width that I would normally associate with false fold screaming. So that to me almost sounds like a fry scream. It's just being like barked out. That's really cool, actually. I haven't heard that in such like a short, sharp thing. God, that's definitely unique. We're going to keep going. I feel like I could muse about this for a while. Always something new to hear. That distortion there, you can clearly hear that there's still some true fold singing in there. You can clearly hear the pitch that he's singing. His voiced sound has not dropped out. So that distortion that you hear is happening above the vocal folds there. And if you're not sure what I mean by above the vocal folds, above the vocal tract, there's a bunch of different mucosa. And depending on how you tighten the pharynx in certain ways, depending on what is flapping around, it can cause other harmonics to become registered by the ear. And if we can hear those harmonics, even if it's like, let's say noisy sound waves, that can be registered by our ears as distortion over that clean sound. So you've got the vibration of the vocal fold level, and then you got the distortion occurring through whatever happens to be interfering with the sound waves and causing their own sound above the vocal folds as well. That's how we get that distortion. Just really cool.
Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Open up your hate and let them open the make. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You mother, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You fucker, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. And this is the gift that has been given to me. I can see inside you the sickness is rising. Don't try to deny what you feel. Will you give it to me? It seems that all...
Such a cool drop down. I wonder if he does that live. You can hear a lot more color in his vowels here. He's singing in something that's a little bit heavier and it sounds like it should have some bite to it. And he's got this distortion stuff coming through. And then he starts singing, and the moment it becomes more vowel dominant, there's truly something beautiful about David's vowels. They just sound lovely. And I find that to be an interesting contrast, considering that the lyrics that he's singing and then the slightly heavier instrumentation and the song style that Disturbed is using here in this particular song. And then you have this beautiful vowel that comes out. I'm talking about the tone of the vowel. He's not sustaining it. He's not doing anything crazy with it. It's just the tone itself on its own. It has a lovely tonality to it. It's a little bit more on our warmer side. We've got brightness enough for it to cut through, but not so much that it sounds annoying or overly bright. There's a roundness to it as well in the moments that it's there. And then the vibrato kicks in every now and again. The hints of the vowel work that you hear in this song is something that he then just like capitalizes on and uses so much in Sound of Silence. And yeah, I feel like that's definitely reflective of the absolutely gorgeous tonality I heard in Sound of Silence, in these like little snippets of more freedom to the vowel when he's not compressing, he's not squeezing in the pharynx. Your vocal tract is made up of different kinds of muscles and sphincters and stuff, and as they tighten, as they draw close, you get different shapes, different levels of compression to give you different sounds. Voice is so cool because it's like you just change the space and suddenly everything's different. It doesn't have the same quality to it.
I want you there. Will you give it to me? It seems that all that was good has died and is decaying in me. Will you give it to me? It seems you're having some trouble in dealing with these changes, living with these changes. Oh, now the world is a scary place now that you've woken up the demon, the enemy. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Open up your hate and let it open to me. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You mother, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You fucker, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Man, this is the gift that has been given to me. Yeah, but not dream. And will I try? Oh, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Open up your hate and then they open to me. Get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You mother, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. You fucker, get up, come on, get down with the sickness. Madness has now come over me.
Whew. I love all of the interesting noises that we got to explore in this. Don't take noises as a bad thing. I call everything noises. Clean singing, harsh vocals, car, drag racing down the street. Everything is noises. Everything is sound. I love hearing something new that I never necessarily heard before, especially when it's produced by someone's voice. It makes me think of perhaps what their exploration of their vocal development might have been, for them just to be playing around with these different things. You know, like when you're a little kid and you like start to make different noises. And a lot of the things that I'm hearing in here, they almost spark the imagination of how did they discover these sounds and how did they make it work for them? Because I feel like a lot of things that can become unique as part of someone's voice are the things they explored by themselves, often not for the purpose of singing. Often it's just for the sake of being able to make a cool sound, or you're imitating something, like siblings in particular. You just try to make annoying sounds to like rile them up, or you hear a siren go down the road and all of a sudden you're making like whistle noises and you're making siren noises and you're in a whistle register, or you're up really full lip and high in your range. There's no intention there. They just develop. And I think I've heard a couple of times people say like, oh, this singer was inspired by David. And so that might also perhaps be influencing me to think that these sounds are from him, that he made these sounds. This is where it started, the use of perhaps this kind of tone. I haven't explored a lot of the other perhaps bigger figures within the harsh music circle. So I'm sure as I do that, I'll be able to hear some of the vocal choices that perhaps more modern artists are either emulating or have adapted or have evolved. But I like the idea of that process being something that is fun and something that is more about what weird noises can I make. Sort of steps us away from the rigidity of traditional vocal pedagogy, which is what a lot of people, yes, can benefit from. You can definitely benefit from breathing and vowel training. I strongly suspect, and the comment section under my Sound of Silence video definitely confirmed this, that David's had training in styles that would produce, let's say, beautiful, gorgeous vowels. So more along like your classical work, perhaps like your choral, or people were commenting under my other video that he's like a trained cantor, which means he sings a lot of like liturgical music, a lot of choral music. There are some absolutely gorgeous pieces of sacred music. And if you want to learn how to produce beautiful, pure, or lovely vowels, that kind of music is all about the vowels, all about the purity, all about creating a particular tone. And yes, it falls under classical music for sure. But again, remember, just because there's one particular area of classical doesn't mean that all classical aims to achieve the same sound. You might not necessarily want a operatic setup for someone who wants to sing sacred music all the time. Perhaps you need to go about it a slightly different way depending on what you're hoping to achieve. But regardless, you can hear some training in there. And I like the idea of throughout our journeys as vocalists, we're able to pick up different things. So things like the dog bark, it sounds like things are compressed and we have some distortion. It sounds like a dog and vomiting at the same time. It's crazy. And even vocally, aside from estimating the kind of pharyngeal squeeze that you would need for this kind of sound, the thing that leaps out is the lack of air in the sound, because it's not a sustain. It's not like he's trying to even create a pure tone there. It's just distortion. It sounds like it's just distortion. Maybe there's a little bit of true fold action in there. Something else that I noticed throughout this performance is how he's able to balance his clean and his distortion in different moments. Going from those verses into that chorus, or even how he progresses from verse into chorus. Like I'm sure Captain Julia highlighted a few moments where there's a build and what kind of distortion and how much distortion he uses until we land in that chorus. And we do have that squeeze that I mentioned a couple of times now, that squeeze there. There's distortion in there. Every now and again, he goes down for these low notes as well. And it almost sounds like epiglottic fold. But it's there and then it's gone. So I'd have to listen to it a few more times, I think, to be sure. But no, this was a really cool insight, a little look-see at what kind of ways David uses his voice in Disturbed, because it's almost like The Sound of Silence is a way of inviting people in to be able to hear this. So I'm really glad that I got to listen to this particular song, because it was a bit of a wild time. Vocally, honestly, listening to this stuff, it was a bit wild going, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that either. Where is the noises coming from? And then if we were to say anything about the music, in the beginning, I was kind of like settling into it and I was like, oh yeah, okay. And then by the time that's the second chorus comes around, you're like, oh yeah, no, we are definitely comfortable and sitting in this. And yeah, you just want to move. It's the rhythmic setup in his phrasing. It's the music itself as well. This is a pretty cool song. It's really cool and I appreciate being able to explore it. So thank you so much for suggesting this one. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to give it a like, click the subscribe button and the bell notification beside it for more just like this one. As usual, I hope you're staying safe. I hope you are staying healthy and I will see you next time. Bye. Guys, the constipated cat is back. Was that it? Now I just sound like the Grudge. Now I just sound like I'm strangling myself. God, that was an interesting sound.